That is going to expire, I do believe, at 5:45. So the tornado warning will outlast the severe thunderstorm warning. Let's take a look once again at the big picture, because everybody who's north of Tipton County, really, you're in great shape. I'd say Lauderdale, Dyer County, no worries for you in regard to severe weather. If you're in this area right here, don't think we're going to see any severe storms. As a matter of fact, if you're on the west side of this cell, you're in good shape. But we're still going to keep an eye on this area right here. We could see some more storms develop, especially as we get into the evening hours. We've got that tornado watch until 11 o'clock tonight. So until this entire line or this entire system, and right now we're looking at two potential lines, one to the southeast and then the one just to the north impacting Shelby County. Until both of these are out of here, we're still under the gun for strong to severe storms to continue tonight and the possibility of some more isolated tornadoes coming into play. Right now, two areas of concern: northeast Mississippi, Prentiss County still dealing with it, just to the north of Lee County as well. And by the way, Tupelo, you've got some pretty potent storms coming your way. It looks like this activity that's just beginning to exit Lafayette County starting to ramp up a little bit. But our concern right now is for this cell that is moving through and into Shelby County right now and through northern Crittenden County. I want to get a count on the lightning strikes once again, just to take a quick look. We can often tell whether a storm is increasing or weakening by the number of lightning strikes that is producing. It got down to about 24 lightning strikes a few minutes ago. It's back up to 41 strikes. So what we're seeing this storm do is pulse up and down. So it gets a little momentum, produces a little more lightning, maybe even some more hail, and then it just kind of weakens a little bit. The downdraft starts to overpower the storm, but then it pulses up again. So I think as we see this move off to the east and just basically continue in that direction, we're just basically going to see this system continue to pulse up and pulse down. I'm going to put this into motion for you. Then I want to step over here and I want to take a look at what the National Weather Service is saying in regard to this particular cell and what their thought process is on it. And right now they're saying that no, they are going to update the warning to drop. So they did drop Crittenden County. All right. So yeah, that has been dropped. We know that now. Crittenden County no longer under the tornado warning, but it still continues for Memphis and Shelby County. So this is a storm we have to watch very, very closely over the next few minutes as it continues to move through. Where is that RDOT camera at, Ben? Can you tell me? All right, let's take a look at that. Turl, Arkansas. They got some very heavy rain coming down. Let's take the camera there. Look at this. Patrick Ellis just walked in. He's got to be back at work in a few minutes, but coming in to assist this afternoon. Let's see that camera from Turl. Yeah, that's the northbound lane right there on 55, right there at the split, I do believe. And taking another look, it's primarily just rain that we're dealing with there. As far as things go, I want to go back right now to the link system. And I want to show you a couple of things associated with this. First of all, can you get us there, Marvin? Take us back. There it is. I've got a lot on here. I'm going to clear this off, and I want to take a look. I hit this skit just a moment ago. A BTI, that is, you see that number at the bottom box on the right side of the screen, the bottom of the box, it says BTI. That is the Barron Tornado Indicator. This is Barron Technology. The tornado indicator on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the least likely there's a tornado, 1 being the least likely, 10 being the greater probability. This is coming in at about a 2.7. So it is indicating some rotation, but it is very low. And actually the hail threat is greater than the tornado threat on this. So right now, still rotation. Let's take a look at, you have the Clarkdale camera? Ben, let's take a look at that. Ben is our producer in the booth this afternoon. He's finding some camera views for us. Let's take a look and see what you have. Whoa, whiteout conditions from the heavy rain that's moving on through there right now. So that is what we are looking at. Can you be more specific where that is, Ben? All right, so that's exit 17 right there at Clarkdale. Sirens still going off in Memphis and Shelby County this afternoon. Tornado warning continues until 6 o'clock this evening. And that's a look just to the west of the Mississippi River. So this is the real cluster of storms we're watching right now, or the most significant one in our coverage area. And really, in the big scheme of things, it's a small cell, but it's impacting Tipton County, Shelby County, and Crittenden County right now. We have the severe thunderstorm warning. We have the severe thunderstorm warning until 5:45, the tornado warning till 6. Let's go back to that camera because we've got people taking shelter under that bridge right now as the wind, the heavy rain comes down. I do believe the stronger potential with that storm, or the greater threat with that storm, is just to their east. But I tell you what, taking the shelter right now is a good way to give it a minute, give themselves a minute, slow down, let it pass, and then get moving. Patrick Ellis jumped in just a moment ago. You guys got Patrick's mic up? Can you tell me, Marvin?
On Weather 2.
There you go. He's on Weather 2. Patrick, you were watching this. You just got back into town a little while ago.
Yeah, I just rolled back in town. But I saw that ASP officer that was there. Oddly enough, I got the wrong shirt on because I was rushing so quickly, so I got the old station shirt on. It's the same company, so it's okay. But needless to say, the storm that was moving through across that part of the world definitely had some hail associated with it. It is, as Ron was mentioning, a very small cell in the grand scheme of things, but of course still has a bit of rotation associated with it. Is now making its way across Shelby Forest and into the city of Millington. So we encourage you to be in a safe place now, interior room, away from windows. That's the larger view of everything when it comes down to Shelby County. And so if you're hearing the sirens, again, even driving in from downtown to Midtown, heard the sirens the entire way down Union. This is not a storm for Union. This is not a storm for downtown or Midtown. This is a storm for far northern Shelby County. They just sound the sirens for the entire county, though. Collierville, Germantown, Whitehaven, this is not a storm for you. There you go with the latest update with it. If you're coming down 385, though, in the north end, up there between the base and Millington, heading over towards Austin Peay, this is a no-go situation. Let's switch over to the velocity, well, the shear rate, which is, kind of giving you an indicator of where the wind shear would be. And it looks like it's coming right there where 51 and 385 come together there, just on the south side of Millington. So just a heads up there, that's the area to watch for. This looks like it's going to go straight down. If it's still rotating any, it would go straight down 385, Ron. So it's coming across through some of those rural areas out there in Shelby Forest, and then coming across 385 there just to the south of downtown Millington. But of course, you got the exit there that goes over to the base on the south end of town. So we're talking like Raleigh-Millington Road, and then eventually out there towards Singleton Parkway.
Yeah, that is, and I tell you what, this has been really just moving to the east, almost due east. Let me put this into motion for you one more time. By the way, National Weather Service even upping the criteria on that storm moving through Prentiss County. It looks like it is producing 2-inch size hail. We've seen indications of some large hail within this one that's moving through right now, but look at this, almost just a due easterly progression with that as it pushes on through. I want to zoom in and take a closer look once again. Let's take another analysis of this. I want to more specifically take a look at the lightning strikes. Let's see if that has ramped up a bit. We were at one point about 40 strikes of lightning, down to 29 strikes right now. In regard to hail size on this, we were getting reports of some hail around Millington. Also had some reports of hail as this was moving through Crittenden County. I think if it is producing hail. And Patrick, right now it looks like the tops in the storms even coming down a little bit, at least for what's moving through Memphis and Shelby County, although it's right there by the radar site itself. So we're not really getting an accurate depiction. We almost need to look at this from the Columbus radar site. You want to give it a shot on that?
Well, I was going to tilt up on that radar.
On the Millington,
so
take a look at another elevation on it.
Yeah.
I think we were checking that out at 1/2 degree. He'll bump that up to around, what, a degree and a half, maybe?
Degree and a half, and so that would put that elevation about 5,000 feet or so. So that's what I'm trying to look at right now.
And here's what happens. So you've got the radar site here, and the beam goes out. Now, yeah, it does get a little higher as it goes farther away from the radar site itself. But when the storm is right on top of it, you almost need the beam shooting straight up to get an accurate depiction of it. And it's just very difficult to do. We can't do that, as a matter of fact, on this with this radar as it's coming over it. So that's where you're in that radar hole of sorts. And right now, it is right there approaching Millington. I'm going to put a quick track on this, Patrick, and then I'm going to toss it back to you. And I'm going to track it all the way from the leading edge of the precipitation, not necessarily from the rotation center itself. Millington, 539, so it's right on you right now. And then Barrettville, 547, 548 into Rosemark. Bolton, 552. We'll see that move into Arlington at 602 and then get into Longtown right around 612. So that's a track on the storm itself. Looks like lightning is decreasing to some degree. Patrick, what are you seeing on there?
Well, just seeing the two different cells there. Of course, you had the initial cell that prompted the original severe thunderstorm warning and now the tornado warning. That's now moving over the city of Millington. If you're in Millington, we encourage you to be in a safe place now. Interior room, away from windows, lowest floor of your home. Again, anybody on the east side or northeast side of Shelby County needs to be keeping a close eye on that particular storm. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, you see two flashing boxes here. Well, remember, there was an original severe thunderstorm warning, and when we went back and looked at that camera in Clarkdale, that storm was actually the second storm behind it that flared up right behind it. So there's still some hail potential and wind potential with that storm that is still west of the Mississippi River. So there's two different cells here that we're watching. The main one, though, of note that's currently in Shelby County, and we'll get that off of there, is moving right over the radar site at Millington at the Navy base. So again, this is going to continue to make its way off towards the east. Nobody needs to be traveling on 385 right now up here on the north leg of 385. So we're talking from Millington to Arlington, that leg of 385. No one needs to be on at this point. Nobody needs to be on Singleton Parkway. Nobody needs to be on Raleigh-Millington Road. Nobody needs to be on Austin Peay Highway. I'd say all the way down to about Bowling Hughes and Old Brownsville with that storm, and then farther north all the way up to the Tipton County line. If you're hearing the sirens in northern Tipton County, I'd say if you're in Brighton, if you're in Covington, you hear the sirens going off, this is not a storm for you either. Same thing for Shelby County. City of Memphis, if you're inside the 240-40 loop, this is not a storm for you. This is north of you by about 15 miles, but this is primarily northwestern Shelby County now. Shelby Forest and Millington, the primary areas to watch out for out there by the old raceway. You go out there by the industrial park there along Highway 51. And from that point northward, that's where I would say you need to be on alert with this storm in particular.
And Shelby Forest is getting a 1-2 punch out of this because that leading edge came through that's over Millington right now. And then that second part of the storm that developed back behind it, that's coming through again.
Yeah.
So if there was any damage as that first round came through, that could be exacerbated by what's following up behind it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of seeing what we got going on here. I see some pictures and videos from the fire officials there in Millington. I just want to make sure what I'm seeing here is right. But it looks like it's just a lowering of the cloud base, so not an actual tornado. So that's good news. Let's hope that that's the case. Can't really tell necessarily, but I can tell you that from that perspective, it may just be a wall cloud, which again, you would need a wall cloud to get a tornado. So you've got the genesis of a potential for a tornado. It's just not completely there. And let's hope it stays that way. Want to make sure what we got going on there, but it does look like we've got some stuff going on there with in regard to that came in from the city fire official. So I'll try to get that video downloaded here in a second and just kind of look at it again. But again, it seems like the storm basically right on top of the radar site. Again, as Ron was mentioning, we start looking at the radar, it goes out and the earth curves underneath it. But when it's right on top of it, it's really hard to actually see it. You know, the closer in that you are, probably the best place to see it from, Memphis, Clarkdale, Marion, West Memphis, you got good perspective. But when it's right on top of the radar like this, it's kind of hard. It what we call attenuates, so it makes it hard for you to actually see it. But I mean, it's clear as day that there's still a storm that's basically right on top of the base. Navy Road, 385, that in general area heading out towards Austin Peay and Highway 14. So again, moving out towards the eastern portion of Shelby County, heads up for our friends in Arlington, Galloway, as you move over into northwestern areas of Fayette County. No warning for Fayette County. It basically comes up to the back doorstep of Fayette County. But I do want to give you that heads up, that first alert. But again, 385, no go right now. I'd say all the way from Arlington, all the way back to Millington. I wouldn't be on 385 right now.
Do you get a new skit on that? Do you have an update on that? And the skit, that's the arrows you see on there. That's a storm center identification and track. So it gives us a lot of great info. I want to see if there's
And
an
it looks
update
like
on it.
they just canceled the tornado warning, but the severe thunderstorm warning, they're going to keep it going until it expires at 5:45.
Okay, I tell you what, we will, let's just go ahead and track this for a few minutes and just stay with it, simply because
Because next thing's up is nightly, so I mean we're here till 6.
Yeah, and we've already covered up about half of it, so why don't we go ahead and stay on until 6 o'clock and just track this through. So again, as Patrick mentioned, this is a cell that is impacting northern Shelby County, all right? So folks that are up around Shelby Forest, Millington, Bartlett, Raleigh, Fraser, this is going to impact Lakeland and Arlington as it moves off to the east. And really, we're looking at a 1-2 punch. This cell itself, even though it's one cell, there's 2 areas that have developed along it. One, that leading edge, and then some redevelopment coming in back behind it. Now, the whole thing is moving off to the east. So many of you in the northern portion of Shelby County, southern and southeastern Tipton County, you're going to get this sudden burst of wind, heavy rain, and hail. Then just tapers off to rain. That's followed by another round of wind, heavy rain, and hail. So I'm going to clear this out. I want to put a track on this, give you some updated info on communities that are going to be impacted by this. And first, we will start again, severe thunderstorm warning. That goes until 5:45. So it's going to expire in about, well, now it's expired. It's gone. But the cell itself is still holding together and still showing some decent characteristics of producing some, well, what could be damaging wind. So I'm going to track it from this leading edge here. We'll move it east, northern Fayette County. That's coming in your direction. So it's going to go from 540 at 547. It'll move into Bolton, 556 into Mason, 602 into Lakeland, 614 into Hickory With, and there we go. Brand new severe thunderstorm warning. Then it's going to move into Dancyville about 617, 628 into Fayette Corners, 634 into Somerville, and 642 into Whitefield. So now Crittenden, Fayette, Shelby, Tipton County under a severe thunderstorm warning until 6:30 as that line moves on through. Now, I want to track the second portion of that storm. That's going to be the one that follows in behind it. And Patrick, I think that's probably what they're issuing for him, all right?
Yeah, and that's because I'm starting to see the wind signature picking back up coming across the Mississippi River right now from Clarkdale over towards Shelby Forest. So that's probably why they reissued it. It's not actually for the storm that's over the radar right now. So that's one thing that we can say is that that weakening signature was there. I went back and looked at that video from Millington, and it looked like SLC, scary looking clouds.
Scary looking clouds,
Of course, the scary looking clouds, you had the tornado siren also going in the background. So that's also the other thing too. But I will say, we can come over here to the weather pod. What we can do is, talk about that storm specifically. Again, we're talking about the new severe thunderstorm warning that just came out. We have an arrow on there that will take it all the way out towards Millington, Bartlett by about 6:09 in Millington, Bartlett by about 6:13. If we're not saying your town's name or your area's name, that's probably a good thing. And I'll zoom back out because I do want to give everybody a perspective of what we're dealing with here. That one storm, again, wind and hail, the primary issue with both these storms that are moving through Shelby County. But that new storm, that new warning is for eastern Crittenden, northern Shelby, western portions of Fayette County, and far southern areas of Tipton County until 6:30 this evening. But when we zoom out, that's really the only storm that's on the radar. I see one storm in southern Quitman County. That one's non-severe at this point, but there are definitely other storms that are moving on across the area. You see one that's moving out of northeast Mississippi, moving into northwest Alabama. You got another one in Middle Tennessee right now. This, again, was not going to be a full-fledged, line of storms. It was a developing line. If you were watching Friday morning, I said that to you guys, gave you that first alert that there was going to be a developing line. This was the genesis area for the potential for storms, and of course that's kind of what's happened here. This is really the only game in town for us. Now, could there be more storms that could develop here in the next couple of hours? Yes. That's why we have this front moving through here. It's coming and going. It's not like what we saw last week. Remember, last week we had a 1-2 punch. This is a one and done. So, once this gets out of here, we're good to go. But I do want to let everybody know, if we're not talking about you in Hernando, that's a good thing. If we're not talking about you in Dyersburg, it's a good thing, okay? But right now, the one storm of note, severe thunderstorm warning for wind and hail potential now involved there in northern Shelby County. We're about to move into northern Shelby County. I'll go back over to the hail detector, and I don't see anything that's standing out. Now, this is the hail swath. This goes back to the previous storm, and this storm very will likely put down some decent hail at some point in time going through northern Crittenden County, in the very least. I was watching a live stream of it earlier, and it just, I mean, you could see the rain shaft and the hail shaft coming out of that thing. I mean, this thing was likely producing some strong wind and also hail that moved through there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some reports of hail from that later. Also had a report of hail in Millington from this storm as it made its way through.
What was did we get a size on that hail? Was it was relatively small, wasn't it?
I'll check.
Was it dime size?
There was some dime-sized hail, but I don't think that was that storm necessarily. I'm just reading through here. It looks like, yeah, I don't see the, that was in Lafayette Springs.
Okay.
So,
and yeah, while you're
yeah.
doing that, look at the big scheme of things. It's really this line right here, northeast Mississippi, and then that one particular cell that's impacting Tipton, Crittenden, Shelby County right now, and just beginning to make its way into Fayette County. You want to take a look at the lightning once again. Couple of areas of lightning, 26 strikes overall. That's not a lot. That leading edge of it with 16 strikes, but what's developing back behind it's got 13 strikes of lightning. And I just want to take a closer look at that just for the potential of any rotation that may be in that cell itself. And a couple of little areas I see right here, I think we may be dealing with some downburst. There's another one right there. So as that's pushing on through, there could be some straight line wind that comes through, does a little damage in those areas. But overall, for the most part, I think we're dealing with a hailer, as we call it. This is a cell that's just producing some decent sized hail. Let me do a little split on this once again. I want to really take a look at that second portion that's about to come through Millington again. That's got about 25,000 foot top on it, but
Honestly, it's probably taller than that because it's right on top of the radar. It just can't go up that high.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it can't go up that high. So right now our highest radar return is about 25,000 feet on that. But you've got some other info on it too. What are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at that storm that's down in Quitman County. I just wanted to kind of get an idea of what that one was looking like. And you can kind of see when we throw this in the 3D mode, you can see that hail core just to the south and east of Mark starting to flare up. So that's something that's going to keep our eye on because this may be a storm in development down here in southern Quitman County. The storm track would take it into southern Panola County towards Pope and Cortland, crossing I-55 somewhere around 6:15. The time right now is about 5:51. So just kind of keeping an eye on that particular storm. I'll go back out to the bigger picture.
We were really more concerned about that 278 corridor, you know, leading up to this. We knew there'd be some isolated cells that would develop back behind the system itself, but really the main area of concern was northern Mississippi and these individual cells that we're looking at. So that, that one's starting to flare up a little bit. This whole thing, I'll just put this whole system into motion for you. Let you take a look. It is moving off to the east, getting a little development back to the west, but notice this area down here. You see this? It's really starting to make a move to the east. So we've got a little cell to the south of, it looks like it's right there to the west of Bolivar County. It's moving off to the east. This one coming out of Prentiss County, that's moving into northeastern Alabama. But you can really see the main area of concern right now as we head on into the evening hours. But it's not until we get this little cell out of here, that severe thunderstorm warning that's going to remain now until what, 6:40, 6:30 on this?
On that one.
So that's the one that's
and
really
just
impacting.
severe thunderstorm warning for that one that just came down.
Which one was that?
That was Quitman County.
Okay.
Quitman, Panola, Tallahatchie, and Yellowbush until, let's see here, that's probably going to be 6:30. Yeah.
You still zoomed in on that one?
I can go back down there.
Let's take a look.
Kind of go back to that one storm. And it goes back to what I was saying. It's a hailstorm that's is popping up there. They've got it up to quarter-size hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind. So the standard severe thunderstorm warning. But again, when we threw this in the 3D mode just a second ago, kind of give you an idea. When we throw it in 3D mode, we're talking about looking at this in multiple different levels of the atmosphere. It's not just what we see there at the surface. It's multiple levels of the atmosphere. So when we slice that, turn it on its side, you can see how you see the pink area there that's elevated. That's sitting at about 20,000 feet above the ground. And it is very likely that as that stronger storm moves across that area, as it starts to lose its gusto or continue to build, which this one's building still, it's going to start dumping out some hail out of it. So if it's not doing it right now, it should be trying to do it here soon in southern portions.
That's an impressive hail core in the middle of that.
Yeah, that's going to be down there near Lambert, and so when I throw this back up here, yeah, just to the east of Lambert. So that moves over towards Cortland and Pope, and you see Enid Lake there. So if you know anybody that's traveling along I-55. Here shortly, coming up from Jackson. Like I just said, I just came back from Jackson, Mississippi. Literally just got off the highway. So these, there are a lot of folks that are coming and going right now. Anybody coming up from Grenada or Winona, going up into the city of Memphis or vice versa, going southbound, just to give them a heads up that one's going to cross that area here shortly. Speaking of I-55, go back out and look at the bigger picture from the other storm's perspective. The one that is now moved firmly into Shelby County, that is moving out of Crittenden County, so we can get the I-55 corridor that's over in Arkansas and Crittenden County and Mississippi County and all clear there. But this storm, again, more hail potential coming into Millington. And it seems like the hail that did fall in Millington was relatively small from what I can see, Ron. It didn't seem like there was anything like that. And it sounds like the sirens still may be going off in Arlington. I don't know why that would be the case.
It's probably just a malfunction there.
Yeah.
I want to show you the Midtown camera because it's almost a tale of two different cities of sorts. Marvin, can you bring up the Midtown? Look at this, Patrick. Georgia's cloudy. Union Avenue is dry. There's been no rain here in Midtown. There's been no rain reported at the airport. But on the other hand, you get into northern Shelby County, it is coming down big time right now, and especially in and around Millington. I think we have the downtown camera. You can see the rain shafts there in the distance, by the way. That's a pretty good shot from our best care camera overlooking the Mississippi River, lowering of clouds there in the distance. That's likely due to that wind that's coming on through. We're looking to the west, northwest from that view, but that kind of gives you an idea of what most folks in and around the city of Shelby County are seeing right now. But as you go back to the first alert Doppler radar, we got a lot of activity, and it is all streaming off to the east, and more specifically, that cell right there, right along and north of the 40 corridor. And then we've got this activity down here in northern Mississippi, and we're going to be keeping a close eye on this area over the next few minutes. Lightning strikes starting to pick up there. We're starting to see a little more activity in regard to isolated severe thunderstorms. So along and south of Highway 278, stay weather aware. And that's really folks in Panola, Quitman, Coahoma, Lafayette counties, and Union and Pontotoc counties in northeast Mississippi. But right now, the one that is creating the bigger problems for us here in the city of Memphis and Shelby County is that cell that's moving through northern Shelby. What are you looking at there? Is that
that's a
right
storm
there
that's
around
over in northwest Alabama. I saw the hook echo on it. It kind of caught my attention.
You want to talk about that for a minute? That's just east of that. That is just outside our area, but it's worth taking a look at.
Yeah, I saw the shear marker too, and I was like, my goodness, it kind of stood out to me. So, but that storm's well off to the east of us at this point. But did get a report in southern Tishomingo County, golf ball size hail there. So definitely something that is happening in other locations just outside the Action News 5 coverage area. Also some reports of hail around Pontotoc County. So, just to the south and east of us, kind of where we were watching some of these computer models showing up over the last couple of days where the storms were flaring up. That's kind of where this is kind of shooting across. Remember, Ron showed you the loop there over the last hour or so. This line is moving more east. The stuff up here to the north that's all closer to the front is moving more south and east. So that's the kicker. So once you get past this storm up here that's in northern Shelby County right now, that's things are going to be done. So I think if you're up in
Eastern
Dyersburg,
Arkansas is finished.
yeah, I think so
Wouldn't
too.
you say?
For the most part, with the exception of maybe some stuff that could flare up, maybe in Phillips County or something like that. But I think in general, yeah, Eastern Arkansas, for the most part, should be done. If you're up in Dyersburg or Blytheville or Ripley, Tennessee, I think you're done too, up that way.
Yeah.
So.
And look, I think by 10 o'clock tonight, this whole thing's out of here. So once the sun sets, the atmosphere starts to stabilize a little bit. Again, the main area of concern are southern counties, but more specifically along Highway 278. But it's this pesky cell right here that just is relentless as it continues to move to the east. I want to put another track on this because we're still seeing this kick up some decent rain, lightning, even some gusty wind. That's moving on into Fayette County right now. So 558 Bartlett, it's right on top of you right now. Lakeland 609, we'll see it move into Dancyville about 614, 628 into Oakland, and then 631 into Hatchie, Somerville 642, and 650 it will move into Whiteville. But that's going to be followed by another portion of that cell, which is coming in just behind it. So you're going to get a 1-2 punch. So Raleigh 602, then Bartlett 609, Lakeland 618, Mason 628, then Hickory with 631, Oakland 639, Somerville 653, and Fayette Corners at 656. So that's a look at that. What have you got up there? Oh yeah, you've got a pretty decent SmartWay camera. Let me step out of that.
That's 385 and 70 up in Arlington. Because I wanted to see, because obviously they were talking about the siren still going on up there. Let me kill that, and then I get that up there. I think that it's looking back towards like Waffle House and McDonald's and all that stuff. So that's what you see, the old Kroger's over here, looking down Highway 70, looking back towards the north. So that storm is the one that originally prompted the tornado warning for Shelby County. That is what it looks like, and you can see the cloud base here. Now, I will say this, the cloud base looks really high. And that's a good thing, okay? And the reason why I say that's a good thing is because more than likely you're not going to get a tornado out of something that high in the sky. It doesn't seem like it, but that's kind of the thing. You want, if there's going to be a tornado, these things would have to be scraping the ground, basically, scraping the tops of the trees. That's not the case here. These bases are really high, and that's lending itself more so to a hail potential and a wind potential. That's kind of what we've been talking about the last couple of days with this particular system, that this was more than likely going to be a wind and hail potential that would be in play here for us across the Mid-South. So that's what we're dealing with this storm. But I did want to give you a heads up and give you that look at what we're looking up here. I would not be traveling on 385 though still, because that storm, once I take this off of here and go back over, that's the storm right there. That camera sits right here. So we're looking back up here into this part of the storm as you're going back up into some of those newer neighborhoods there as you get closer to the Tipton, Shelby County line. If that camera swung around to the north, we'd see nothing but a wall of water with that.
And then it's going to get hit by that second wave that's coming in behind it as well. So that's what I was trying to time out for folks just a moment ago, is you get that first one that's moving on through that you were showing, and then that's going to be followed by another one. Which one looks like it has the greater wind potential within the two?
It still seems like the one behind it, the second one, has the greater wind potential right now, but you know, we're starting to see things kind of diminishing a little bit. But here's the thing, between now and probably 8 o'clock this evening, that's when things are going to be off to the races. Anecdotally, I will say this. Between the 1 or 2 hours on either side of sunrise and sunset is when you're going to see that pop, and that's what we're seeing right now, is the pop. And once we get past that, things will start to calm down, especially as the front gets south of here by the 10 o'clock news tonight. You know, Kelly and Matt and everybody's going to be here. Is Matt back from Seattle yet?
I do believe
okay,
so. He'll be tired, but he'll be back.
But needless to say, you know, this is probably the only big storm for Shelby County of the night. Beyond that, though, you know, down south, that 278 corridor, as we see, we have another. We just got, well, no, that's another severe thunderstorm warning. They got it kind of lined up here. We have one that's for southern portions of Quitman County, southern Panola County. I did see some reports of small hail with that one near Lambert, but not to severe limits, I would say. Severe limits would be a quarter, but we're not there yet. So
that's really starting to really ramp up quickly. That little cell right down there, that really started to fire up very fast and produce some decent hail in a short period of time. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we saw this even intensify as it moves towards southern Lafayette County. Let me go ahead and put a track on this. And Patrick, if you see something, feel free to jump in. But I want to track this as it moves on through southern Lafayette County. I think it's going to stay south of Oxford, but Pope, that's coming in at 602. It's right on you right now, as a matter of fact, that leading edge, but the heavier rain and the wind are just behind. Then Long Branch at 614, 632 into Taylor, Water Valley 633, Altus 648. Then it's going to move into Coppola right around 704, Thaxton 707, and Pontotoc at 725. Now the cell that is just to the south of it, with these cells just kind of moving east, I don't think that's going to impact our area. However, I want to take a look at the cells that are just to the east of that. Alcorn County, I think you may be in pretty good shape. Also, this area right here, I think from Marshall on through Tunica, northern Coahoma, and really Coahoma County is in general, you ought to be in good shape. Tate County as well. Areas that are really in southern Panola County, still under the wire or under the gun for the potential for some stronger storms to develop. But really the focus right now is really shifting to the south, or has always been to the south, but it's that one cell right there, still moving through Shelby County, about to move into Fayette County, that still has the warning that's in place now. It's going to go until 6:30. And that is for Crittenden, Fayette, Shelby, and Tipton. It does show some signs of weakening. I'm interested to see, Patrick, whether or not they'll extend that as it makes its way on into Fayette County.
You know, it is going to be an interesting thing. I'm going to say they might err on the side of caution and say yes.
Just because of the hail potential with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like all the storms in North Mississippi seem to be more so hail potential storms at this point. All these warnings that have flared up here in the last couple of minutes are all hail potential storms. I want to go back down here to the Quitman County storm, give a heads up to our friends in Crowder, as well as Cortland and also Pope. That storm is now moving into southwestern portions of Panola County. If you're in Marks, if you're up towards Crenshaw, the storm's past you. Lambert, it's past you as well. If you saw some hail around Lambert, let us know. Of course, I did see a report of that not terribly long ago, but it's moving past Crowder. I will say it's doing two things, to, Ron, and I'm going to throw this back into 3D mode really quickly because I want to see how this looks in comparison to what it looked like maybe about 5 minutes ago.
I love that view, by the way, just because it really gives you an idea of the height of the storm, shows you what's inside it, and you really see the perspective when you take that slice and look down through it. Talk about what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's starting to see a little bit of more of that hail core. It does not look as intense as it was maybe about 10 minutes ago, and that's good news. Again, but the problem is that more than likely the reason why it doesn't look as intense as it did maybe about 10, 15 minutes ago is because it's put down all of its hail, or it's put down all of its rain.
But you know, that cell we saw come out of Crittenden County, it developed in Cross County, moved on through Crittenden County. Patrick, it would pulse up and then pulse down and then pulse up again. It was almost like the downdraft was weakening it a little bit, but as it moved east, it would encounter a little more instability, some more characteristic, because look, we got a lot of surface-based CAPE. It's convective available potential energy, all right? So just the ingredients for storms to redevelop, it's there. So
Storms
I think
go-go
in North
juice.
Mississippi, Storms go-go juice. I think North Mississippi, we could see that same characteristic, a pulse up, pulse down, but you got to watch it because it could pulse up again, and that's more typical of a hail producing system.
Yeah, and it's kind of going back and forth, like you said. And like I said, we have a lot of juice in the atmosphere here today. We did get quite warm, you know, well into the 70s, had the strong south wind throughout the day. So, you know, we are in play for some severe weather, but this is not like what we saw last week. This is nothing of that caliber by a long stretch. And, you know, through the week I've had people say, well, where were the tornadoes in Shelby County? Well, be happy you get a tornado in Shelby County or in Memphis, because obviously we've seen it all week long, the devastation from the storms down in South Mississippi and over in eastern Arkansas too. We barely missed out on that.
Just the psychological aspect of it, you deal with a long-term severe outbreak the weekend before, you get another one behind it.
Yeah.
People are a little more antsy. So that's why we're here with you. Right now, no tornado warnings anywhere in the Mid-South. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for Memphis and Shelby County. That's going to go until 6:30. It's also including Fayette County. We've got several severe thunderstorm warnings in northern Mississippi, but no tornado warnings. So let me emphasize that. However, these cells could spin quickly, especially these individual cells just kind of working out in the open. So we're watching it very closely. But right now, we're in pretty good shape. The majority of the activity along and south of 278, and then we've got the one cell that's coming on through Memphis and Shelby County right now. That's where we have the severe warned storm, and that is right over the radar site in Millington. Patrick, you've got a good view of it right there, and more specifically, the communities that are being impacted by it. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, the specific storm that Ron's talking about, again, this one that still has a severe thunderstorm warning, I will say it does not look like it did about 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It looks a little junkier, and we like it when it looks junky because usually that means it's starting to fall apart and falter. Let's hope that that's the case here. There are still some indicators there that could lend itself to some small hail associated with it. Our hail detector, though, is not showing anything right now. But there's still some indicators inside the storm that would suggest maybe a couple of smaller hailstones, not completely out of the realm of possibility. But
and
when
wind. I
and
still
wind,
think just some gusty wind with this.
Yeah, and I think the gusty wind action is also part of it too. You know, dime size hail, that's not, you know, small hail, some change size hail as Eric Brill likes to call it, but some gusty winds too to go along with it. That's the primary issue. I don't think that this warning is going to hold much water for much longer. I really don't think that.
And I'm wondering.
And actually, I think that they just canceled it.
They did cancel it.
Yep.
Yeah, they sure did. I tell you what.
To that point, as I was just saying, it's not going to hold water for much longer.
Let's do a quick wrap up here, Patrick, because we're not going to let our guard down by any means, but we do want to get you back to your regularly scheduled programming. But right now, let's just take a look one more time at the big picture. What's working? The severe thunderstorm warning that was for Shelby, Fayette County, that has now been canceled. It is still heavy rain, maybe producing some small hail, but it is not at severe limits. However, we've still got some cells that we're watching closely down south. More specifically, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for Panola, Tallahatchie, Yalobusha County. That's going to go until 6:30. There are a couple of warnings just to the south of that and to the east, but they are outside of our coverage area. And right now, the cell that was warned for northern Shelby County, northern Fayette County, looks like it's a rain producer. I'm going to take a quick look at some of the characteristics on this. Lightning strikes down to 17 right now. Taking a look at the potential for any rotation within that. Just don't see it, but there may still be some pretty decent wind associated with it. And also, we're going to look one more time for hail. Don't see any indication there, but it is still producing a lot of rain. There could be some flash flooding with this. And Patrick, it seems like it's even slowed down a little bit, especially as it moves off to the east. And look, it's still indicating anywhere from about 1.5 inches to, or about 1.25 inches to close to 2.5 inches of rain per hour. In other words, if it sat on top of your house for an hour, you could get 2.5 inches of rain out of this. But right now, it is primarily a rain event, at least for Memphis and Shelby County, with the stronger storms just to our south, but it's still well worth watching. Got any final thoughts, Patrick?
Just want to give that final track on that storm that's through southern portions of Panola County. This will go out a little bit, but actually let me just put a storm track on it for the next hour. Just, you know, let's see here. Which way is it moving? 35 miles an hour. So let me just put a storm track on that that's manual that goes out that long. And want to give everybody a heads up because this is going to eventually move into southern portions of Lafayette County. Put that out there for 60 minutes and get you all the way out to Taylor and Oxford. So heads up to Pope, obviously basically on top of you guys, and Cortland crossing I-55 here in the next 10 minutes. The time right now, 6:11. Water Valley, 6:51. So that's northern portions of Yalobusha County, and then Taylor, southern areas of Lafayette County, it's 6:56 as you're going down Highway 7 and Highway 6. And then you go up, get into Oxford, and that storm would be closer to about 7:05. So about in that general range, give it another hour or so, will be in southern, I'd say really 30 minutes or so into southern Lafayette County. But I did want to give you all a heads up of where that storm is going. It does have some hail and some wind potential with it as well.
All right, buddy. Hey, thanks for coming in this afternoon. I really appreciate that. Drove up from Jackson today.
Oddly enough, repping Jackson, I didn't even realize. I just grabbed the shirt and I said, I got a blue shirt. That's right.
It's okay. That's another one of our gray stations. And by the way, central Mississippi, the Jackson area could see some severe weather. weather
Seeing it
this
right
evening
now.
as well. Yeah, so some strong storms working their way through there. Patrick Ellis, thank you very much for coming in. We want to get you back to your regularly scheduled programming. We're still going to stay here and track these storms through the evening. Hopefully we won't see you again until Action News 5 at 10, but if any other warnings are issued, more specifically tornado warnings, we'll be back and on the air. In the meantime, stay weather aware. Get the Action News 5 First Alert weather app. Put it on your smartphone or tablet. And keep in mind, tornado watch still remains for the entire coverage area until 11 o'clock tonight. For meteorologist Patrick Ellis, I'm meteorologist Rod Childers. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Dude, you are awesome. You know that? You are freaking